So, if we had done this list before season 8, I think it would have been pretty different.
Yep.
So, Game of Thrones has come to an end, and we're going to do the same thing that we did for Gotham, and we're going to go through our top 10 characters. Mm-hmm. And just as we did that time, we don't know who's on each other's lists, and we're going to reveal them to you at the same time that we reveal them to each other. The one thing that we did sort of figure out, just in a little bit back and forth, is this is a Lannister-free list.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I didn't realize you were Lannister-free, too.
Yep.
There
are no Lannisters to be found. Because I'm sorry, Tyrion, you didn't have anything good after season 5. You just didn't.
Yeah, you drank and you knew things, and then you just kept drinking, and you stopped knowing things, I guess.
You drank until you didn't know things anymore. That's what it felt like. But this is not a complaint list. This is a positive list. These are things we
will say, though, that we agreed that, there are a fair amount of characters that would have been higher or would have been on our list that after season 8 did not make it.
Yes. That intro wasn't just for the sake of a joke. This list would have been very different a year ago.
Yeah, I probably would have had Jaime too, because I really liked Jaime at first, and what a ending.
We'll acknowledge that at the front end, but from here...
Okay, we'll get going. Number 10.
Number 10.
Yeah.
So, first of all, Tyrell. Yeah.
Yes.
Tyrell and a Stark.
Uh-huh.
So if you... Yeah. Her little direwolf.
Yes, this is Ghost that you got for me, in fact.
I did!
Yes. So, yeah.
So, I'll go first.
Yeah, go for it.
Ned, gone for a while now, but he was one of my initial hook-ins to the show. First of all, I love Sean Bean. I love Sean Bean, everything I've ever seen him in. And the character is just really great because he basically ultimately suffers from the fatal condition of being himself. Mm-hmm. He cannot be anything other than who he is, and that is ultimately what gets him killed. And what I find interesting about that is, normally when that happens, it's because who someone is has what is agreed to be a fundamental flaw. They can't hide the fact that they're a coward or they're self-serving or he's none of those things.
So wonderful.
He's a good, honest, noble dude, but he is that so strongly that it gets him killed. And that.
I love his, he was actually sort of, I asked you who you're, if Ned was on there, because I was considering him, and he was a very strong contender for me, so I was like, okay, we'll talk about Ned at some point, so I will put someone else on the list.
Yes, I did confirm to you that I had Ned, so that you could put somebody else on your list.
Yes, that we could also talk about. But yeah, he's just great. I love his scenes with Arya in the beginning, and his relationship with her.
He gets her so well.
He really understands her, and his death just puts everything in motion after.
Yeah.
And it's so shocking and so heart-wrenching. So, yeah, good choice.
So, Marjorie,
much like it's Sean Bean, it's Natalie Dormer. And she is...
Legit.
Just that scheming intelligence personified. You can just see it working in her eyes. She's basically training to be her grandmother. But she also has this sweetness and kindness to her. She's she shows Tommen, the first kindness he's ever seen.
If Cersei had a heart, I feel like she'd be Marjorie.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe that's a stretch, but I'm making the comparison there that
level of scheming is there. I could see that. Okay. I could understand. She deals with this whole situation of her brother being with her husband, essentially, and just kind of like, it's kind of like their beard, and it's kind of this weird relationship.
She knows exactly what's going on. She's like, no, like, it's fine.
Yeah,
This is a political marriage anyway. I get it. It's fine.
Yeah, I mean, she's always got it figured out. But I do feel like she has that goodness, and she does really care about the people, which had not been happening for a while.
Legit.
She would have made an amazing queen. It does make me sad the way she died, that she died en masse with a group of people, so that really hurt. But I just really enjoyed her for the few seasons she was in. And I mean, I enjoyed Natalie Dormer anyways, so. And she's just hot too, so let's be honest.
Yes. Okay, so number 9.
Yes.
Ready?
Oh, really? Littlefinger.
Yes.
He's not on my list.
So this is the one, like, flat-out antagonistic character who made my list. Because I felt like this show had given us so many good villains that, like, I wanted somebody on here. Mm-hmm. And for me, it's going to be him, because most of the other great villains that have been on here, you know, Joffrey, Ramsay, characters like that, you know, I can look at them and go, I was really glad to see you die. But you also weren't as much fun to be around up until that point. Like, you were so twisted, you finally getting your comeuppance was cathartic. Mm-hmm. But with Littlefinger, because he, again, back when the show was about political maneuvering and manipulation, he did that just as well as the characters we inherently like more, like Tyrion, like Marjorie. Mm-hmm. But he was just slimy.
Oh, he was so slimy.
In the way he did it. But I like that he had that, because he had that same level of intelligence and approach in his manipulation, he was fun to have around in a way reminiscent of those other characters, but he was still slimy enough that when he finally got it, it was like, yeah.
And we are still going to have that characters we love to hate, right? On this show.
I mean, we might. Well, I'm debating whether or not we'll do that as a separate list. I will see.
Okay. All right. So Theon. He's kind of like I've been thinking about him recently, and he's really on here because of the whole progression he made.
So
I didn't like him at first.
Is he the only one who moved up because of season 8 as opposed to being moved down?
He's not the only one, but he's
one
of like
few.
2, I think. One of 2. Because there was a fair amount that just stayed where they were.
Yeah.
And then there was like 2 that I would say moved up. There was a lot that went boom, like bye, Brienne. Sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it wasn't just season 8. I mean, definitely that turning moment where he throws that girl off the tower and decides to save Sansa was just like, yes, go Theon, go. And, but I also love that he never, well, by the end, yes, he makes a full redemption, but there are those moments of hesitation and cowardice and everything. And I kind of love that I hated him at first, and then by the end I was like, oh, Theon.
You know what I like about his journey, and this is a hard thing to do well, is that he had stumbles along the way that still felt right. Because oftentimes when these kinds of stories try and have someone redeeming but then stumbling, it just feels like we're running on a hamster wheel. Mm-hmm. But it would feel like he did make progress. He stumbled. Mm-hmm. But he's a little further than he was, and he'll get a little further, and then he'll stumble again, but he'll get a little further. So it actually managed to balance that. He is getting better, but he is still got a lot of issues.
And the actor played the trauma so well.
He did. He really did, yeah.
I was really impressed with him by the end. A good chemistry with the woman who played Yara as well.
Yep.
Really, convincing scenes with them together. Loved his his ending scene, or his scene with Sansa, where they're kind of chugging in with each other. Oh, that pulled at my heart and made me tear up. So yeah, I do really love their friendship and just this like understanding of shared trauma they had after.
Yep.
So yes.
All right. So moving on to number 8.
Yep.
Ooh. She barely missed my list.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Really?
And like I love her to death, but it was one of those cases where you're in it so little, and like
she's so good.
I do love her. I absolutely love her, but it was one of those things of like, have I built you up to be more than you actually were in my mind?
She takes out a giant.
She does. She does.
We wanted her for the Iron Throne.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, like this is our first pick.
Out like a boss.
Out like a boss. In like a boss. Out like a boss. Like, yeah. Why don't I just take
Go for it.
Okay.
Go for it.
She was just like a duh factor for me. I know she's only in like 3 episodes, but anytime she came on, it was like, yeah, you tell him. I don't know who you're going to tell off, but you're going to tell someone off. And she's just so tough. She's like this pint-sized like boss, And it's just great. Like, at first I thought she would be like a mini Arya kind of, but she wasn't. She was kind of her own brand of sass and, awesomeness. And I mean, she dies taking out a giant.
Yes, she does.
I was devastated that she died, and I didn't think she was going to die that suddenly. But, like, what a way to go.
Yeah.
And I also wanted her to be a zombie longer. Like, she would have been terrifying. But yes, she's who we wanted on the Iron Throne.
She is, yeah. If the Iron Throne was not going to be melted down, which I always figured it would be, she was the one I wanted on it. Mm-hmm. So, Davos, partly it's the actor.
Oh, he's so good. That voice.
Liam Cunningham.
You'll see him again on my list, by the way.
I figured he would be.
Yep.
Like he's great, and he's got he just, again, it's a great balance of elements because he does have that sort of nobility to him, but he's got just enough of the rough edges that you see his history of having been something much less noble than he currently is. And he also had great rapport with basically anybody they ever put him in a room with, which is always a good thing.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I've got too much more to say than that. It's like, he was just a character, I'm like, oh, you're in a scene, so I like this.
He made everything a bit better. He was a very sympathetic character. I'll get into him more, but yeah, good choice.
Okay, so number 7.
Oh, yeah, I almost forgot about him. But I do like him, but again, wasn't around.
See, that's the thing.
That's
even as I made this argument about Lyanna's, like, I know I am going to out myself as a hypocrite for this one, but I
guess she made more of an impression for me.
And that's fine, but
like, he made more. That's fine, fair.
There's only one God, his name is Death, and there's only one thing that we say to Death, not today. It's in season 1. It is still my favorite line. I love his swagger. I love the fact that he's like this tall.
Well, and it makes sense that he's teaching Arya, who is like that much shorter, and also little pint-sized terror.
I love just how smooth the guy. He's like if Inigo Montoya didn't have the daddy issues and just learned to be a kick-ass fencer. Mm-hmm. Like, and that's just yes, all of that, and yes.
Yeah, he's good. No, I hadn't really thought about him, but yeah, he's good fun. He's a lot of fun. Oh, yeah, gone too soon. All right, yes, so Tyrell, Grandma. Olenna. I always say it Oleana for some reason. Olenna Tyrell. Love her. I'm hoping she's on your list.
I'll get to talk about her again.
Okay. much like you love the not today death, I love the tell Cersei it was me.
Oh.
It was so good. That was just like best mic drop.
Like
Best.
that's a Westeros mic drop right there.
That's an exit. That is an exit. Just like, she's just so good. The actress Diana Rigg, like, what else can you say?
I know. And like, here's the thing.
I love her little, her little headpiece. I'm just going to mention that because I really love that because it made her look like it helped with the purity and the like.
But she's
sweetness.
just so not
Skinny.
that.
She's so not.
See, when you mentioned Marjorie, it's like she could always figure everything out. I'm like, she can, but not like Elena can.
I was gonna get to her, and just like she took out Joffrey, thank you, and made him die so spectacularly and turn purple and choke, and like, and then just rub Jaime's nose in it, and like, she's wonderfully awful, and I love her, and like, and I kind of also wonder. Which, obviously, there's spoilers abound here.
But yeah, look, if you haven't figured that out by now, I don't know what to tell you.
What she would think of Bronn taking over Highgarden. Like, I kind of want to see what her take on that is.
I think she would have had outward disapproval, but there would have been a smirk.
Yes, I feel like that would be it. I just...
a shake of the head, but like a little smirk.
Like, are you serious? All right, then.
Okay, so number 6. Hey!
Yay!
We should have thought of something to do, like, we should have, like, had a shot or something.
I don't know. I was wondering if we would get into one of those. Did we have any ties in Gotham?
No, we didn't.
I don't think we did.
No, we didn't.
This will probably, maybe it won't be our only tie, but we'll see.
We'll see. But yeah, like, so... I did have to think about this because, admittedly, they seem to not know all that much of what to do with him in the last few seasons. But to contrast it with, say, Tyrion, the lack of things for him to do didn't result in an actual diminishment of his character. It just resulted in him showing up a little less.
Yeah.
And it kind of made sense with the situation because, like, he's a guy who manipulates the royal chambers, but once he's not in King's Landing anymore, you know, he's just in an environment where what he does doesn't get called for as much. So I don't feel like the latter seasons knocked him the way that they knocked Tyrion.
He makes an excellent background character.
He does.
Like, I think really that's good. It. Like, I kind of love that he's never in the forefront, and that suits what he does so well that I forget about him, and then I'm like, oh, yes. I love his soft-spokenness. Oh, yeah. And I love his sincerity at times. Like when Ned Stark asks him, who do you serve? And he says, the realm. Somebody has to. It's like the sincerity that comes through in that moment. It's like, oh, dang, you're not about loyalty to any of these houses. You're just like, what is going to cause the least damage to the people who actually have to live here? He does actually care, too, but, like, his ways of manipulating and his means to get there, you're like, okay. Like, you seem evil, but you want the right thing, but the way you get there, oh, my goodness.
He doesn't get hung up on the means. He makes his call on what he thinks is the best thing to do, and is like, however I gotta get this done, we'll get this done.
Yeah, I mean, we're pretty much in agreement. He's great in scenes with Tyrion.
Yes.
Like, you know, even when I was not quite as happy with Tyrion, I was like, oh, this will be better because he's with Varys and they'll be at, like, full scheming potential. And it's all good. And also probably drinking, so. Yeah.
Halfway through, so moving on. Davos. I talked about him. What do you care to add?
He's just my soft spot vote. Like, I just have such sympathy for him. I loved him early on when, like, he was locked up and Shireen was teaching him to read. Like, that just hit me. Oh my God. And then I love that he figured out Melisandre right away and was against her because I really did not like her. And like when he lost his son.
See, I actually need to go back and rewatch that because that didn't hit me that hard, but it's because it felt like I didn't know if I liked him yet when that happened.
Well, keep in mind, I also read the books. So we're going to get into this with, I think, my third favorite character, who I also really loved in the books. So that influenced a little bit of my love for him and why he's up high. But like that, I don't know if it hit me more in the series or the books. They've kind of meshed together in my mind.
Fair enough. That happens.
He's just this good, moral man who keeps fighting for and keeps like serving these awful people.
Yeah.
And instead of being like with Tyrion where I'm like, well, you're dumb, I just feel real sympathy for him instead. And I don't know why quite that is.
Well,
I don't... His goodness shines through more than obviously Tyrion, but...
The thing is that Davos doesn't bank himself on his brains, I think is the difference. I don't mean to say that like he's dumb, but like he's never sold himself as I'm smart and figure stuff out. Whereas Tyrion does. So when Tyrion does something dumb as a result of that, it's in direct contradiction of who he supposedly is. Mm-hmm. Whereas with Davos, he never claims to be that. So when he is tied to somebody despicable, it doesn't call his character into question the same way.
Yeah, because he almost serves as a contrast to them.
Yeah.
Like, look at, you are so moral, but look at who you're serving. And like, yeah. And I really like his voice too. It just kind of mesmerized me.
You and your smooth voices.
Oh, I just want to hug him. I really adore Davos. Like, I was always just happy to see him, and like, there was like a comfort feeling to it.
Okay, so Bronn was basically, if you saw the list I did on Gotham, or that we did, he's my equivalent to to Victor Zsasz in this show. Literally, every time he shows up, I'm smiling.
Yeah, he's great.
And he is in some lousy scenes, some lousy storylines. He was tied up in the pointless crap that went on at Dorne. Pointless! But he was still...
Also better in the books, let me point out. Dorne is better in the books.
I'll take your word for it. I mean, it's hard to not be.
Yeah.
But in any case, even in something like that, he was still good. And I still had fun with him. And I love that he never lets the mercenary nature slip, and that, like, no, it's not that I don't like you. It's just someone who pays me well enough, I'm going to kill you. That's what I do. What? I told you that.
I kind of almost wished he had, like, shot Jaime and Tyrion, or at least one of them. It would have been less painful. By the end of season 8, like, maybe Jaime.
Shoot Jaime.
Yeah, just do it. You would have saved us some heartache in season 8.
And not like emotional gut punch heartache, but just like, oh, really? Heartache. But anyways, ready to move on?
Okay. Let me just continue the conversation about Bronn.
Okay.
So again, he's also good comic relief.
Yeah, he is.
And we need that. And I know it's a trope to have this, like, rogue sellsword kind of, but he plays it so well, and it's a good trope.
Well, what I love is that, like I said, he never loses that. So he's not like the rogue with a heart of gold. He's like, no, he's just the rogue.
Yep.
Which, to me, makes him refreshing.
And he's so good in scenes with Tyrion and Jaime. Like, I think if I had continued to love the two of them a little more, he would have been a little higher. But yeah, and just his love of brothels is kind of ridiculous, especially in that last scene. He said,
Priority 1 for rebuilding King's Landing, the brothels.
The brothels. So he's just a lot of fun. So
he is. So, Arya. Oh, God, it's been since number 10 since we had a Stark turn up.
Oh, right.
Arya was just a cool kid early on, and she stayed cool, and she got cooler, and she was just a badass by the end. And she's one of the characters where I don't think there's actually anything particularly surprising about her story. I think it largely goes where you expect it to, but it's also one of the only ones that does. Mm-hmm. That doesn't take a major divergence or end really abruptly or end up in a place where you're like, wait, how did we get here? She just kind of goes on this journey, and there's something kind of nice about having at least one character walk the path you expect them to.
She's also, well, I didn't expect her to live, first of all.
Well, yeah, but that's still she's still on the same trajectory. You just thought it would get her killed.
Yeah, well, yeah. I will be talking about her later, but yeah, she is. She also never bores me, even though you're right. Like, her storyline never bores me. I'm always glad to see her. I'm like, you are right. She is what her path and her progression makes sense. I do like at the end though that she kind of walks away from it and is like, I'm gonna continue exploring the world, and that makes sense to me. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna give up this assassin business. She's still gonna probably kill a lot of people and kind of become a pirate, but it's not gonna be like number one priority is crossing names off her list anymore.
Is there even anyone left who is on her list? I mean, list is done, isn't it?
Yeah, I think everyone's dead.
I mean, she didn't kill all of them, but they're all dead.
Yeah, I think so.
I think she gets to walk away.
Yeah. And maybe not start a new list. Like,
yeah. So,
all right.
Ready for number 3?
Yes. Go for it.
So,
you will see her later too.
Well, this is a bit like Barbara Keene for me with Gotham, because she easily gets most improved for me. Yeah. Because I did not like her for a while. And the reason, this is actually the reason she gets above Arya for me, because as much as I actually don't even think it's a negative that Arya's arc goes where you expect it to be surprised by where somebody ends up and have it work, as opposed to just, and now Daenerys burns this whole thing. It's like, wait, what? Like, but to have someone go on a trajectory that makes sense, but isn't what you would have expected for them, that's really rewarding television. That's really rewarding long-form storytelling. And I think Sansa really embodies that quite well in terms of, the vapid, almost like pretty girl that she starts out as, to the hell that she goes through, initially at the hands of Joffrey and then Ramsay, good God. And then having her own personal catharsis, getting to deal with and firsthand take participation in the elimination of Ramsay and Littlefinger, and then not her baggage dealt with, because it's not like you just pack off your baggage, but have gotten to get closure on those things to evolve further into the ruler that she became by the end. Like, this is good stuff.
She wins the Game of Thrones.
Fair.
Like, if anyone she won. Like, and what a journey to get there, and I'll talk about that more. But
in terms of ascending to power, she did it right.
Yeah, like, she figured out how to play it really well too. So
yeah. So
the Hound.
The Hound.
I love him. I mean, I get it. It is a simplistic desire he has, and like to kill his brother, take out his abusive brother, but it works so well. And he's a simple guy. It's a simple storyline, but man, does he sell it. And he's great in scenes with Sansa and Arya.
Yes.
Like, he's so good and brings out so much in them. And one of my favorite episodes is where his goal is to get chicken and Arya's goal is to get a pony. And by the end, like, he has chicken, she has a pony. And I'm just like, this was a great episode. Like, you do not need more goals than this. Like, I'm just happy for them to be riding along. He's in some of the best fights, like when he takes down Brienne.
That's a good fight.
I really did enjoy Clegane Bowl. I know you had a few issues with it.
Yes, I did. But, like, it worked.
Yeah. I loved him in the books. I love that he comes back and achieves his goal. I know it's simple, but I really like him. And I love that at the end, he's like, Arya, you don't want this. You don't want what I have. And, like, she steps back and does that. And that's, like, that is how the Hound does kindness. And I kind of love that.
No, I agree. I'll get to talk about him later.
Oh my. Okay.
So, number 2.
Okay.
Here we go.
I guess this is my number 2.
Okay. You'll notice there's no number.
No.
She has been agonizing.
This was number 1 forever.
For the last hour, she has been agonizing. She's been sitting right over there going, I don't know.
I don't. And, like, remember, if you watched our Gotham video, I was like, well, my number 1 is the number 1. Same reason that my number 1 for Gotham is going to be number 1. And now it's not number 1. It's number 2. Yeah. So, I love her. She's great. And, I mean, we said most of it. I love how sure of herself she is, even as a child. Like, nope, that's not me. And, like, that comes back. There's some great callbacks in her storyline, which I love. She gets to take out so many, like, people I hate. Like, she gets to take out Walder Frey.
Yep.
She gets to take out Littlefinger. I know some people are like, well, I don't think it makes sense for her to take out the Night King.
Makes sense to me.
It makes perfect sense to me. I mean, she's an assassin. She's on her home turf. Like, they're like, how did she sneak up on him? She's little. They just showed her sneaking around the crypts a bunch and not getting caught. Like, she's on her home turf. Like, yeah, it makes sense that she takes out the Night King, to me at least. I didn't love the, like, let's lose my virginity to Gendry storyline. That was a misstep, but not so much, not some of the colossal missteps that Brienne took and others.
On the scale of season 8 missteps, it was on the lower end. And even that, like, the way it happens, it's true to her character, which is why it's better than what happens with Brienne.
She takes control of the situation.
Like, I don't like it as a note to be played, but it is at least consistent with who she is. And if she was going to do that, that's how she would do it.
And I forgot Stark.
Yes.
Sorry.
It's okay. So, yeah,
yes.
I don't know how much I have to add about Elena Tyrell. Just boss.
Oh.
Absolute boss.
Yeah, I knew you loved her. I didn't expect her to be that high, but I salute that. She's great.
Oh.
Great.
Diana Rigg owns that part so expertly.
She's so quiet about it, too.
I know. Like, and she just sits in the back, quietly watching and making notes and totally understanding everything that is going on.
So I know I love her scenes with the High Sparrow, too.
Yes.
Which, again, like, not quite in it enough. And I don't, obviously, Lyanna was not in it that much either. But I did love him. He was great. And
what I liked about it's worth, I'll just mention it quickly. What I liked about the High Sparrow was that he was so sincere about what he was saying as opposed to it being a political ploy. I liked the fact that threw everybody off their games. Like, wait, he's not just saying this for power, he means it?
He actually,
oh, crap.
He believes.
I don't know what to do with this guy. The reason he didn't make the list is because I kind of like the impact he had on the show a little bit more than the character. And I also don't like the rest of the Sparrows, like, as a thing. But I do like him.
Yeah.
But, yeah, Elena... There are some great roles for older actors in this, but I don't think any of them even come close to her. She absolutely, talking to Marjorie, like, her very first scenes just make it so clear she knows exactly what she's doing.
She's the queen of the betrayal garden.
Oh, man.
Which I believe is a South Park reference.
She holds the tax lien on the betrayal garden.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, love her. Okay. So, number 1. I know what your number 1 is now. So, number 1.
I did not expect that to be your number 1. I didn't know you liked him that much.
I always liked him. I was never unhappy to see him. But it was in a slightly less superficial way than say Bronn. Because Bronn I always liked having around for a bit of a chuckle, a bit of a laugh. The Hound I always like to have around because maybe I get a chuckle, maybe I get a laugh. Maybe I get to see some great acting of a really broken human being. Maybe I get a really kick-ass action scene. Maybe I get a terrific bit of chemistry between him and either of the Stark sisters.
Stark.
Like one of my favorite moments in the show, it's from season 4, and it's when he and Arya go to, what is it, the Vale? Hoping to get Arya to her aunt. And they get there and the guards are like, no, she's dead. And the Hound's like, and Arya just starts laughing. Like, I love that today. And I like, that's
they're so good together.
Like, he's trying, for once, he's trying to do a decent thing, and the world's just crapping on him for it. And then Brienne kicks his butt, too. It's like, that's what you get for trying to do a decent thing, dude. And...
yeah, he's just so good.
And he has an understanding of what he is, and that what he is not a good thing, and no one should aspire to be it. But he still commits to being that. And again, the best of these characters are really well balanced in terms of him having just enough awareness to not be frustrating to watch. Because someone who's as self-destructive as he is but doesn't realize it, that gets frustrating. But he has just enough self-awareness where you're like, oh, man, you know your damage. And you also know you can't stop it. Dang.
Yeah, I mean, he is simplistic, but also very complex, now that you're talking about
He
it.
has simplistic desires, but he's not a simplistic character.
Yeah.
So, Lady Sansa.
Yes, Queen in the North. She definitely has the best story arc in the whole series, I think, hands down.
Yeah.
I only actually hated her kind of in the first season, because I even saw the gradual progression in seasons 2 and 3, because there's at one point where, like, she outwits Joffrey, who's being unkind to someone, and, like, tricks him, and, like, it's a very subtle thing, but it's, like, planting the seeds of, like, no, she's watching. And she's always watching. Like, that when she's in King's Landing, she's just, you can see her just quietly observing and picking up things in the, like, seasons 2 and 3. Once she realizes how awful Joffrey and Cersei are, she's, like, starting to figure it out.
I think it's season 3 I started to turn around on her. Because season 2, like, the seeds were planted, but she still had, like, in the Battle of Blackwater, the city's getting sieged, and she's down there going, everything will be fine. Shall we sing a hymn? I'm like, But again, knowing it, again, it's true to where she started, and the trajectory of where she ends up is fantastic.
Yes, I see what you're saying there, but there's also, I think she was still... That's not a bad thing that she's saying that. I think there was, like, she was slowly losing that hopefulness and that sweetness still.
No, like, I get it, but I'm saying I didn't, I'm not even saying that's a fault in the arc. I'm just saying I didn't warm to her until a little bit later.
Until she was a little more cynical.
Because that kind of stuff was still in there. Until she had fully shed it, I wasn't really on board with her.
That's fair. Yeah, I love her scenes with the Tyrells, Starks and Tyrells, when they hang out. They're pretty awesome.
If you know what?
She gets trained by some pretty awesome women.
If the Starks and the Tyrells had just teamed up at the beginning, this whole thing would have gone so much better for everybody.
So much better. And I loved her hand in, like, Littlefinger and Ramsay's death, and just, like, the satisfaction she got from them, and, like, especially playing Littlefinger was beautiful to watch. I just love where she ends up. I'm like, this feels right. Like, because I also understood, like, I didn't ever really want her to rule all of Westeros. Because there's a part of me that's like, she hates King's Landing.
Oh,
that
God,
was an
yeah.
awful place. She does not want to return there. Like, there's no way. But, yeah. And I also really love that she figured out Dany, like, before anyone else. And was like, you're not good stuff. Like, this is not going to end well. Because she'd seen so much. And I just think Sophie Turner did a great job. Just
She did.
Slowly evolving that character, and I just love watching her watch other people. And I love the respect that she and Arya have for each other at the end. I love her with the Hound. Like, she's just, yeah. So I'm feeling okay with her as my top choice. Though probably by tomorrow I'll be like, oh God, I love Arya so much. Why wasn't it Arya? I mean, if I could just be like, number one is the Stark sisters. Done. Like,
that would have worked. So
I should have just written that and been like, oh, Stark sisters win.
Well, that's our list, folks. Thanks for joining us. Who are your favorite characters from Game of Thrones? And also, I mean, between the two of us, who would have ended up on the Iron Throne? Whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Whole bunch of stuff to do as well, because there's buttons and links, and there's Patreon, and there's the like button, which I guess is really important these days, and subscribing and all sorts of stuff. Click on things or don't. It's up to you, because at the end of the day, you're the council. I'm just running the meetings, sometimes with Liz. And until next...
And Ghost.
Yes, and Ghost. And until next time, this council is adjourned.
Ghosty.